Hey guys, it's me Charuta and welcome to the episode 1 of my podcast. Saying that seems so unreal, but yes, I am starting a podcast and I haven't decided on a name. I have like 7 to 8 options that I am going to tell you guys, and you guys can help me decide what I should call this podcast. The podcast name ideas are I have a lot to say because I have a lot of thoughts and I want to give my thoughts a voice in the form of a podcast, if that even makes any sense. And the next one is a lot to say instead of I have a lot to say, because I feel like I have a lot to say seems like a sentence and not really a podcast name. Some of these I feel like are also really stupid, but I just want to put them out there because I just want to. So the next one is life and other things. Life and other things is the one that I am really leaning towards because I feel like it really feels nice and it does not restrict me to talk about a certain topic, because my podcast would be about anything and everything. So the next one is chatter with Charuta, which I feel like sounds stupid. Next is chai with Charuta. I came up with chai with Charuta because in Desi communities in India we have a lot of chai pe charcha sort of things, so I thought it would be a cool name, but now I think it kind of sounds stupid. I don't know, let me know in the comments below. Next one I have is ramblings with Charuta, which I feel like is okay, like not super good, not super bad, it's kind of like a neutral. Next I have desi-ish, inspired from the series Blackish. So yeah, basically about my desi life here in US, or however it changes down the course. And the last one that I have is navigating life with Charuta. I don't know what I think about that, but yeah, I am leaning towards lot to say and life and other things. So yeah, let me know which one do you guys think is really nice. And as you guys have already seen from the title, today we are going to talk about turning 30. So my podcast would be basically about talking about a certain topic. It would always have like an overarching topic for the podcast, and this time's topic is turning 30 because I recently turned 30 and I know I'm not a very famous person and I won't really get a lot of questions in my podcasts, but in case you guys have any questions, I would love to answer those questions at the end of the podcast. And yeah, I am super excited about this podcast. I have been wanting to do a podcast for the longest time, but I don't really know how to edit a podcast and put it on the platforms like Spotify and Apple Music and stuff like that and all that technical stuff. And since I have like a full-time job, I don't really have the time to like learn new things because I make YouTube videos on the weekends. I also make videos for my Instagram and TikTok, and I also create content for my Instagram along with the full-time job that I have, like a 9 to 5 job that I work from Monday to Friday. And yeah, so that's that. So instead of that, I just thought of starting a podcast on YouTube, just sitting on my bed talking about things that I am thinking about, sharing my thoughts with you guys, and hopefully it can help you guys out or give you guys insights into whatever I am talking about. So yeah, that is basically the plan for this podcast. I am super excited and I'm also really nervous because what if someone thinks that everything that I'm saying is stupid and it doesn't make sense and it's like phony or fake or whatever, but I am going to go with it because I have decided that I am going to start this podcast. So this podcast is all about turning 30 and does life end after turning 30. I feel like turning 30 has been made such a big deal that I think everyone who turns 30 feels really anxious and nervous about turning 30, and I think it is mainly because the society has set up a few goals or standards that you are expected to achieve before you turn 30. So yeah, that is everything that I'm going to talk about. I'll be starting with how I felt about turning 30. I felt shitty about the fact that I was going to turn 30, and I'm not the kind of person who's ever bothered by age, so it was really confusing and difficult for me to understand like why am I feeling this way. So basically I had like a emotional and mental sort of meltdown in December, and thankfully I was at my chacha's place in Texas, so I had family support and I was with my family, but I had been feeling really low for a long time. I think it was also clubbed with the fact that I haven't seen my parents and my family, my brother and sister, for like almost 3 years now. I haven't been to India since the time I came here. So that feeling compounded with the feeling of turning 30 and 30 being such a milestone number and me not being with my family. And I also had a lot of thoughts about turning 30 and achieving certain goals that I hadn't achieved. I don't know, I just felt very uncomfortable in my skin about turning 30, and I did cry for a week because I was going to turn 30, which is so stupid because I had put that pressure on myself. It was just me who was putting that pressure. My parents and my family, they never have these time-bound expectations from me. So yeah, it was a really confusing time and I felt very low, I felt very anxious, I felt very sad. I think it was just difficult for me to come to terms about the fact that I was going to turn 30. So yeah, that is a little background about how I felt, and I just want to talk about the societal goals and the societal pressures that I really felt about turning 30. So there are a certain standards or the goals that society has set up. How much ever you try to not confine to those goals or standards, it does like bother you at the back of your mind, and that is what happened to me. There are various things that make you feel that you're not good enough and that you haven't achieved enough and that you haven't excelled in the field that you are supposed to be in and that you have so much more to achieve. So certain things like Forbes 30 under 30 is something that I feel like is really I don't know if I should call it toxic, or like a lot of people find it really inspiring, but I feel like it's so toxic to put time-bound pressure to achieve certain goals before you turn a certain age. So yeah, that is something that I don't know how I feel about it. I mean, yeah, the people who have achieved certain things before 30, I am like really inspired by those people, but on the other hand, it makes me feel like that I haven't done enough, and I know that I have done my best to reach at this place that I am at. So that's, I don't know, annoying kind of. And also like coming from the Indian society, there are a lot of things that are attached to the number 30, that you should have a house before you turn 30, you should get married before you turn 30, you should have kids by the time you turn 30, and I don't know. So talking about like these societal pressures and expectations, I just started working. I had my first job when I turned 29. Before that I did blogging, I did work on my own, I had my brand where I painted clothes and sold them, I worked with my father's business. So that's what I did, and my first job was at 29. So I had my first job at 29, and having a home, having a car, getting married is something that is not on my list right now. And I feel like everyone's situation is different. So firstly, I want to talk about the fact that the society puts a pressure on you to get married by the time you're 30. I mean, I did not confide to that pressure, and neither should you, because I feel like for getting married you should be mentally ready to get married, and for me I wasn't mentally ready to get married until I was like 28, 29, because when I was younger, and when I talk about being younger, I'm talking about when I was 27 or 28, I was repulsed by the fact that I had to get married and live with another person, and the fact that I would have to make changes in my lifestyle, maybe make a compromise and come to decisions that benefit us both. I did not understand the concept of that. I was just repulsed by the thought of marriage. talking about getting married and weddings just gave me anxiety, and I felt so low. And it was only when I turned 29 I felt like, okay, maybe I am looking to get married or have a partner and share my life with someone. And I feel like some people might achieve that mental maturity when they're 24, and some might achieve it when they're 35. So there's not a particular age that should be the milestone for you to get married. Right now I am okay with the fact of getting married if I have the person that I want to live with and spend the rest of my time with, and the person who can understand me and I can have fun with. The next topic that I'm going to talk about is having kids. I feel like this is something that the Desi society absolutely loves to talk about. As soon as you turn 30 or as soon as you get married, they just want you to have kids. And I am 30, but I don't think I ever want to have kids. And again, it might differ from person to person, but at this point I think I am not looking to have kids, because firstly I feel like I'm not the kind of person who has any sorts of motherly feelings. I don't like babies, and I don't really say that out loud because people would think that I'm weird, but I don't like, if I see a baby, I don't want to hold the baby, I don't want to say hi to the baby, I don't want to play with the baby. I mean, I just don't want to look at them. I don't know if any of you would even understand that, but that is how I feel. And I feel like if I feel that way about babies, maybe I should not have kids of my own because I don't have any motherly feeling. Also, another fact that you really have to think about is how expensive having a child is. I mean, you need a secure future for yourself in order to be able to provide that kid everything that he or she needs in their lives, to nurture them, to help them grow, help them reach the best of their potential. And I feel like at this point I don't think I have enough savings or enough earnings to be able to even think about having a kid and planning for all the expenses that I would have to incur in future. And thirdly, coming back to the fact that I don't feel like any sort of love or motherly feelings for human babies. So I feel like even if I have a kid or a baby, I would not feel fulfilled like other parents do, other mothers or fathers do. So I am not sure about that. And one of the main factors that literally even stops me about thinking about having kids is the climate change and the pollution. The earth is going to shit. We have done so much damage. There's so much pollution. The temperatures are increasing every single year. The polar ice belts are melting. We have so many problems about discarding waste. We don't have a recycling system that is sustainable enough for the planet to be healthy in a long run. We're running out of fresh water. We are running out of clean air. The pollution is increasing. The pollution level in Delhi is so high. So I feel like really scared about where we are going as a race, and our planet's health is deteriorating. And I feel like as a individual, I would not want to bring a child into this world which is headed towards destruction or disaster, and we don't have the climate under control. The pollution is increasing. We are just dumping waste into the third world countries and paying them. The fast fashion industry is one of the main polluters, so is the petroleum industry. So I feel like with the planet going to shit, do I really want to bring another life onto this planet and leave them to deal with the consequences? I feel like that would be a really mean thing to do, but those are my thoughts. Moving on, people also expect you to have a house or have a car by the time you turn 30. I don't have a house, I don't have a car, and I am okay with that. I am enjoying my life. I am happy with what I'm doing and where I am at. I also feel that women feel more pressure from the society about turning 30 and reaching a certain milestone age, because The society tells them that their biological clock is ticking. You won't be able to have kids anymore. There would be complications in case you want to conceive and have babies. But I feel like we are in the age and the era where you will have other options as well. You can go for surrogacy, you can go for adoption, and it's not really that important to have a biological child and to force a woman to have a child just because her biological clock is ticking. They don't take into account if the person is mentally ready to be a mother or not. They just force her into it because of the complications that would occur once she passes a certain age, which I feel like is so unfair because a woman's body goes through all these hormonal and physical changes, and once she gives birth, the body again goes through a variety of changes. There's so many things like postpartum depression, and the fact that you would never be able to get back the body that you had before having a kid. It just adds on to the health and the mental health of the person. And I also feel like society expects women to look a certain way, and like once you turn 30 you should start applying these anti-aging creams and this and that, and you should do that, and you should do this, you should color your white hair. Because if a man has white hair by the time he turns 30, it would be considered hot or sexy. But if a woman has white hair, she will be asked to color the hair so that she doesn't look old and she looks younger. I don't know, that is something that I feel like is bullshit and it shouldn't be. For example, I've lost the count of number of times people have told me that Priyanka Chopra looks so much older than Nick Jonas. People have said कि Priyanka Chopra ऐसे लग रही है जैसे कि वो Nick Jonas की माँ, just because she's an older woman. And it is totally okay if an older man marries a younger woman. For example, if Saif Ali Khan has married Kareena Kapoor, who's like, I don't know, 10 or 13 years younger than him, they feel like, oh, that man has game, that man is so young. But if a woman does the same, she's like, oh my god, वो तो बूढ़ी लगती है, वो तो उसकी माँ लगती है, which is, I can't even fathom how can they even say that. It makes me so angry, and that is what actually adds up and makes you feel like a certain way when you're reaching a certain milestone age, 30 being the age in this case. Now I'll be talking about what I actually did to make myself feel better and happier and very excited about turning 30. Some of these things would like sound really stupid, but it actually helped me, so I just want to share it with you guys. Also, I am really against lists that are like 30 things that you should do before you turn 30, 30 places that you should visit before you turn 30. It's not like our life ends when we turn 30. We have a lot of number of years ahead of us to do things we like, do things that we want to do, and there should not be a pressure put on us to do certain things before we turn 30. 30 products you should use once you turn 30. I mean, that's such BS. I don't even want to get into it because it makes me so angry. So let's move on to what I did that made me feel happier and more excited about turning 30 instead of being a grumpy little cat who's crying on her bed for like 3 days straight about the fact she was going to turn 30. So the first thing that I did was actually look back at my life, look at all the things that I've done, and actually feel proud of where I am at. I also thought a lot about the fact that everyone's unique and everyone's life is different. 30-year-olds aren't supposed to fit into a certain category. Since everybody is unique, their life circumstances are different, and what they achieve and what they do not achieve also depends on their preferences and the life choices that I made. For example, I did blogging for a while. I had my own business where I made hand painted clothes and sold them, and then I also helped my dad with his business. Then I decided to do a second master's when I turned 27. I did that, and then I got a job for the first time when I turned 29. Before that, I had just worked for myself and I had never worked in the corporate industry. So that is what my life story has been like, and it is unfair for me. Also, it is stupid of me to compare my life with someone else's life, because their circumstances are different and my circumstances are different, and I'm super proud of what I've done and what I've achieved. So that is the first thing that I thought about, and it made me feel better. And I feel like you really need those talking sessions with yourselves where you think about yourself and the things that you've achieved and be grateful for the fact where you are. The second thing that I did was I decided to celebrate my existence and celebrate the fact that I was going to turn 30, and not be sad about the fact that I was going to turn 30, because to be very honest, I don't feel old. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, I felt like, oh, 30-year-olds are so old, oh my god, uncles and aunties. But now that I am 30, I just panic by the fact that a little kid would call me auntie because I am 30. But that is what it is. Your perspective changes as you grow older. So to celebrate my age and to celebrate myself and my existence about turning 30, I did this series 30 till 30 where I dressed up every single day, because dressing up makes me feel so nice about myself. I feel so good when I dress up and I wear the clothes that I like. So that is what I did. I dressed up every single day. I made videos of me dressing up and I posted them on Instagram and TikTok and my YouTube shorts as well. And I mean, it made me so happy because I was excited about dressing up every single day till I turned 30, and that is something that gave me a confidence boost. I really enjoyed the process and I celebrated myself and my existence. And it might sound really shallow, like this fashion, oh my god, she's dressing up and she's thinking that she's celebrating herself, but celebrating oneself is different for different people. I feel really happy when I dress up and make videos, and I just wanted to document those 30 days before I turn 30, and that is something that I would have for the rest of my life. And I'll look back at it and maybe I'll laugh or maybe I'll cry and maybe I'll feel nostalgic, but I just enjoyed those 30 days before turning 30. So yeah, that is what made me really happy. Also, I stopped giving any heed to things like, oh my god, do not tell your age to everyone, do not tell that you're 30, because it doesn't matter. If I'm 30, I am 30. If I am friends with someone, they're friends with me for the person I am and for the fact that they enjoy with me or the fact how they feel around me, instead of judging me on the fact that, oh, I shouldn't be friends with this girl because she's 30 and I'm 25, or because she's 30 and I'm 35. It doesn't make sense to me. I mean, I don't know if that is the norm in the society, that you should be friends with people your age, or I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me. Also, I stopped getting affected by things that people say like, oh my god, you don't look 30, you look younger. It isn't about looking 30, it's about how you feel at any age. So I feel like we need to stop this stigma about how a 30-year-old is supposed to look and how they aren't supposed to look, because I don't know, everybody is different and everybody has different stories, everybody comes from different places, so you can't really stereotype a age into a certain category. So yeah, basically that is what I thought and things I did that made me feel better. And now I have literally no shame about telling people that I'm 30, because it doesn't really matter. I mean, it does not matter at all. And those are the things that I did that made me feel really good about turning 30. And I came out of my low, sad, crying phase about turning 30, and I celebrated my existence and the fact that I was going to turn 30, and it was really fun. So yeah, when I said that I have a lot of thoughts, I do have a lot of thoughts, and I just wanted to put those thoughts into words, and that is why I started this podcast Since this is the first episode of my podcast, I am going to take only one question, and I actually got this question while I was doing my 30 till 30 series on Instagram, and I got this question in my Instagram DM. I got this question from a girl who's currently 27 and she's planning to come to the US to do a master's, and by the time she would be done with the master's, she would be around 29, and her story would be pretty similar to mine. By the time she turns 29, she'll have a job and then she'll turn 30, but the problem was that her parents were forcing her to get married instead of going out and studying. So I just told her to have an honest conversation with her parents, but she told me that her parents are really forcing her to get married. So the only solution I could give her was to go talk to her parents openly, tell them about the college she's planning to go to, what kind of masters she's going to do, what would be the estimate amount that the masters would cost, and explain to them why it is so important for her to do this masters and get out of India, how important it would be for her emotional growth, mental growth and professional growth, and also explain to them why she is not mentally ready to get married at the moment. But she told me that her parents won't really listen to her and they're just forcing her to get married. So that is what I suggested her. I don't know if it worked out or not, because I feel like for anything, communication is a really important part, and that is all I could suggest her. So this is what my first podcast episode, can't believe that I'm saying that, first episode of my podcast is all about. It's about turning 30 and how your life doesn't end once you turn 30. If you are younger and you're looking at me and listening to this podcast, I hope it gives you motivation and hope, and you feel excited about turning 30 and not have the emotional and mental crisis that I had. And I want this podcast to be really informal. Like, I want you to feel like a friend who's sitting with me on my bed and we're just having a conversation and you're actually getting something out of it, or maybe you know what you don't want to do looking at me and listening to my podcast. So yeah, that's really it for the episode 1. Do let me know what I should name this podcast, and I hope people listen to it, because I don't want to feel like super stupid for saying all these things out on the internet and then like feel embarrassed by the fact that I talked about all this on a public platform. But yeah, I'm super excited, and I also read somewhere that you should not wait to be famous, you should act like you're already famous. So I'm acting like I'm already famous and doing this podcast, and I hope it helps you out. And yeah, I would not blabber any further. When I say I have a lot of thoughts, I do have a lot of thoughts, and that is why I can't stop talking. But it's time I stop talking. I hope you enjoyed this podcast, and if you did, don't forget to give this podcast a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more podcasts in the future. And don't forget to leave your suggestions in the comments below about what my next podcast should be about. Be very specific about your suggestions. Also be very specific about the questions that you want to ask me, in case you want to ask me any questions at all. And I will see you in my next podcast. I am planning to release podcasts every month because I have a lot on my plate, and I'm thinking of releasing new episode every first Thursday of the month. And yeah, that's all the info I have for you, and I am done blabbering now. So I'll see you in the next one. Bye.